Yashar, Jasher, chapter 31. And in the 7th year, Yaakov's service which he served Laban was completed. And Yaakov said to Laban, "Give me my wife, for the days of my service are fulfilled." And Laban did so, and Laban and Yaakov assembled all the people of that place, and they made a feast. And in the evening Laban came to the house, and afterward Yaakov came there with the people of the feast. And Laban put out all the lights that were there in the house. And Yaakov said to Laban, "Why do you do this matter to us?" And Laban answered, "Such is our custom to do in this land." And afterward Laban took his daughter Leah, and he brought her to Yaakov, and he came to her, but Yaakov did not know that she was Leah. And Laban gave his daughter Leah his female servant Zilpah for a female servant. And all the people at the feast knew what Laban had done to Yaakov, but they did not tell the matter to Yaakov. And all the neighbors came that night to Yaakov's house, and they ate and drank and rejoiced and played before Leah on timbrels and with dances. And they responded before Yaakov, "HalleluYah, HalleluYah." And Yaakov heard their words, but did not understand their meaning, but he thought such might be their custom in this land. And the neighbors spoke these words before Yaakov during the night, and Laban had put out all the lights that were in the house that night. And in the morning, when daylight appeared, Yaakov turned to his wife, and he looked, and see, it was Leah that had been lying in his bosom. And Yaakov said, "See, now I know what the neighbors said last night. HalleluYah, they said, and I did not know it." And Yaakov called to Laban and said to him, "What is this that you did to me? I only served you for Rachel, but why did you deceive me and give me Leah?" And Laban answered Yaakov, saying, "It is not done so in our place, to give the younger before the elder. Now therefore, if you desire to take her sister likewise, take her unto you for the service which you will serve me for another 7 years. And Yaakov did so, and he also took Rachel for a wife, and he served Laban 7 years more. And Yaakov also came to Rachel, and he loved Rachel more than Leah. And Laban gave her his female servant Bilhah for a female servant. And when Yehua saw that Leah was hated, Yehua opened her womb, and she conceived and bore Yaakov 4 sons in those days. And these are their names: Reuben, Shimon, Levi, and Yehudah. And afterward she ceased bearing. And at that time Rachel was barren, and she had no offspring, and Rachel envied her sister Leah. And when Rachel saw that she bore no children to Yaakov, she took her female servant Bilhah, and she bore Yaakov 2 sons, Dan and Naphtali. And when Leah saw that she had ceased bearing, she also took her female servant Zilpah, and she gave her to Yaakov for a wife. And Yaakov also came to Zilpah, and she also bore Yaakov 2 sons, Gad and Asher. And Leah again conceived and bore Yaakov 2 sons and 1 daughter in those days. And these are their names: Yissaschar, Zebulun, and their sister Dinah. But Rachel was still barren in those days, and Rachel prayed to Yahweh at that time, and she said, "O Yahweh Elohim, remember me and visit me, please, for now my husband will cast me off, for I have borne him no children. Now, O Yahweh Elohim, hear my supplication before you, and see my affliction, and give me children like one of the female servants, that I may no longer bear my reproach." And Elohim heard her, and opened her womb, and Rachel conceived and bore a son. And she said, "Yahweh has taken away my reproach." And she called his name Yosef, saying, "May Yahweh add to me another son." And Yaakov was 91 years old when she bore him. At that time Yaakov's mother Rivkah sent her nurse Deborah, the daughter of Uts, and 2 of Yitzchak's servants to Yaakov. And they came to Yaakov to Haran, and they said to him, "Rivkah has sent us to you, that you return to your father's house, to the land of Canaan." And Yaakov listened to them in this which his mother had spoken. At that time the other 7 years which Yaakov served Laban for Rachel were completed. And it came to be at the end of 14 years that he had dwelt in Haran, that Yaakov said to Laban, Give me my wives, and send me away, that I may go to my land. For see, my mother sent to me from the land at Canaan, that I should return to my father's house. And Laban said to him, No, please, if I have found favor in your sight, do not leave me. Appoint me your wages, and I will give them, and remain with me. And Yaakov said to him, This is what you shall give me for wages, that I shall this day pass through all your flock, and take away from them every lamb that is speckled and spotted, and such as are brown among the sheep and among the goats. And if you will do this matter for me, I will return and feed your flock, and keep them as at first. And Laban did so, and Laban removed from his flock all that Yaakov had said, and gave them to him. And Yaakov placed all that he had removed from Laban's stock in the hands of his sons, and Yaakov was feeding the remainder of Laban's flock. And when the servants of Yisach, which he had sent to Yaakov, saw that Yaakov would not then return with them to the land of Canaan to his father, they then went away from him, and they returned home to the land of Canaan. But Deborah remained with Yaakov in Haran, and she did not return with the servants of Yitzhak to the land of Canaan. And Deborah resided with Yaakov's wives and children in Haran. And Yaakov served Laban 6 years longer, and when the sheep brought forth, Yaakov removed from them such as were speckled and spotted, as he had determined with Laban. And Yaakov did so with Laban for 6 years. And the man increased abundantly, and he had cattle and female servants and male servants, camels and donkeys. And Yaakov had 200 drove of cattle, and his cattle were of large size and of good-looking appearance, and were very productive. And all the clans of the sons of men desired to get some of the cattle of Yaakov, for they were exceedingly prosperous. And many of the sons of men came to obtain some of Yaakov's flock, and Yaakov gave them a sheep for a manservant or a female servant, or for a donkey or a camel, or whatever Yaakov desired from them, they gave him. And Yaakov obtained riches and honor and possessions by means of these matters with the sons of men, and the children of Laban envied him of this honor. And in the course of time he heard the words of Laban's son, saying, Yaakov has taken away all that was our father's, and by that which was our father's has he acquired all this esteem. And Yaakov saw the appearance of Laban and of his children, and see, it was not toward him in those days as it had been before. And Yahweh appeared to Yaakov at the passing of the 6 years, and said to him, Arise, go forth out of this land, and return to the land of your birthplace, and I will be with you. And Yaakov rose up at that time, and he mounted his children and wives and all belonging to him on camels, and he went out to go to the land of Canaan to his father Yisach. And Laban did not know that Yaakov had gone from him, for Laban had been sheep shearing that day. And Rachel stole her father's images, and she took them, and she concealed them on the camel upon which she sat, and she went on. And this is the manner of the images: in taking a man who is the firstborn, and slaying him, and taking the hair off his head, and taking salt, and salting the head, and anointing it in oil, then taking a small tablet of copper or a tablet of gold, and writing the name on it, and placing the tablet under his tongue, and taking the head with the tablet under the tongue, and putting it in the house, and lighting lights before it, and bowing down to it. And at the time when they bow down to it, it speaks to them in all manners that they ask of it through the power of the name which is written on it. And some make them in the figures of men, of gold and silver, and go to them in times known to them, and the figures receive the influence of the stars, and tell them matters to come. And such were the images which Rachel stole from her father. And Rachel stole these images which were her father's, in order that Laban might not know through them where Yaakov had gone. And Laban came home, and he asked concerning Yaakov and his household, but he was not to be found. And Laban sought his images to know where Yaakov had gone, and could not find them. And he went to some other images, and he inquired of them. And they told him that Yaakov had fled from him to his father, to the land of Canaan. And Laban then rose up, and he took his brothers and all his servants, and he went forth and pursued Yaakov. And he overtook him in Mount Gilead. And Laban said to Yaakov, What is this you have done to me, to flee and deceive me, and lead my daughters and their children as captives taken by the sword? and you did not allow me to kiss them and send them away with joy, and you stole my mighty ones and went away. And Yaakov answered Laban, saying, Because I was afraid lest you would take your daughters by force from me, and now with whoever you find your mighty ones, he shall die. And Laban searched for the images, and he looked in all Yaakov's tents and furniture, but could not find them. And Laban said to Yaakov, We will make a covenant together, and it shall be a witness between you and I. If you shall afflict my daughters, or shall take other wives besides my daughters, even Elohim shall be a witness between you and I in this matter. And they took stones and made a heap, and Laban said, This heap is a witness between you and I. Therefore he called the name of it Gilead. And Yaakov and Laban offered upon the mountain, and they ate there by the heap, and they stayed on the mountain all night. And Laban rose early in the morning, and he wept with his daughters, and kissed them, and he returned to his place. And he hastened and sent off his son Beor, who was 17 years old, with Avichor, son of Utz, son of Nachor, and with them were 10 men. And they hastened and went and passed on the way before Yaakov, and they came by another way to the land of Seir. And they came to Maesaw and said to him, Thus spoke your brother and relative, your mother's brother Laban, son of Bethuel, saying, Have you heard what Yaakov your brother has done to me, who first came to me naked and bare? And I went to meet him, and brought him to my house with honor, and I made him great, and I gave him my 2 daughters for wives, and also 2 of my female servants. And Elohim baraked him for my sake, and he increased abundantly, and had sons, daughters, and female servants. He also has a large stock of flocks and herds, camels and donkeys, also silver and gold in great amount. But when he saw that his wealth increased, he left me while I went to shear my sheep, and he rose up and fled in secrecy. And he lifted his wives and children upon camels, and he led away all his cattle and property which he acquired in my land. And he lifted his face to go to his father Yitzchak to the land of Canaan. And he did not allow me to kiss my daughters and their children, and he led my daughters as captives taken by the sword, and he also stole my mighty ones and fled. And now I have left him in the mountain of the Wadi Yabok, he and all belonging to him, he lacks nothing. If it be your desire to go to him, go then, and there you will find him, and you can do to him as your being desires. And Laban's messengers came and told Maesaw all these matters. And Maesaw heard all the words of Laban's messengers, and his wrath was kindled against Yaakov, and he remembered his hatred, and his wrath burned within him. And Maesaw hastened and took his children and servants and the beings of his household, being 60 men, and he went and assembled all the children of Seir, the Horites, and their people, being 340 men, and took all this number of 400 men with drawn swords, and he went to Yaakov to smite him. And Maesaw divided this number into divisions, and he took the 60 men of his children and servants, and the beings of his household as one head, and gave them into the hand of Eliphaz his eldest son, and the remaining heads he gave into the hand of the 6 sons of Seir the Horites, and he placed every man over his generations and children. And the whole of this camp went as it was, and Maesaw went among them toward Yaakov, and he brought them over with speed. And Laban's messengers departed from Maesaw and went to the land of Canaan, and they came to the house of Rivkah the mother of Yaakov and Maesaw, and they told her, saying, See, your son Maesaw has gone against his brother Yaakov with 400 men, for he heard that he was coming, and he has gone to fight against him, and to smite him, and to take all that he has. And Rivkah hastened, and sent 72 men from the servants of Yitzchak to meet Yaakov on the way, for she said, Maybe Maesaw will fight on the way when he meets him. And these messengers went on the way to meet Yaakov, and they met him on the way of the Wadi on the opposite side of the Wadi Yabok. And when he saw them, Yaakov said, This camp is appointed to me from Elohim. And Yaakov called the name of that place Machanaim. And Yaakov knew all his father's people, and he kissed them and embraced them and came with them. And Yaakov asked them concerning his father and mother, and they said, They are well. And the messenger said to Yaakov, Rivkah, your mother, has sent us to you, saying, I have heard, my son, that your brother Maesaw has gone out against you on the way with men from the children of Seir the Horites. And therefore, my son, listen to my voice, and see with your counsel what you will do. And when he comes up to you, ask peace of him, and do not speak rashly to him, and give him a present from what you possess, and from what Elohim has favored you with. And when he asks you concerning your affairs, conceal nothing from him. Maybe he may turn from his wrath against you, and you will thereby save your being, you and all belonging to you, for it is your duty to honor him, for he is your elder brother. And when Yaakov heard the words of his mother which the messengers had spoken to him, Yaakov lifted up his voice and wept bitterly, and did as his mother then commanded him. Yashar, Jasher, chapter 32. And at that time Yaakov sent messengers to his brother Եսau toward the land of Seir, and he spoke to him words of favor, and he commanded them, saying, Thus you shall say to my master, to Ěsaw, Thus said your servant Yaakov, Let not my master think that my father's berakah, which he baraked me, has proved beneficial to me. For I have been these 20 years with Laban, and he deceived me and changed my wages 10 times, as it all has been already told to my master. And I served him in his house with hard labor, and Elohim afterwards saw my affliction, my labor, and the work of my hands, and he caused me to find favor and kindness in his sight. And I, through Elohim's great favor and kindness, afterward acquired oxen and donkeys and cattle and male servants and female servants. And now I am coming to my land and my home, to my father and mother who are in the land of Canaan. And I have sent to let my master know all this, in order to find favor in the sight of my master, so that he may not think that I have obtained wealth of myself, or that the berakah with which my father baraked me has benefited me. And those messengers went to Ěsaw and found him on the borders of the land of Edom, coming toward Yaakov, and 400 men of the children of Seir the Horite were standing with drawn swords. And the messengers of Yaakov told Ěsaw all the words that Yaakov had spoken to them concerning Ěsaw. And Ěsaw answered them with pride and contempt, and said to them, Indeed, I have heard, and truly it has been told to me what Yaakov has done to Laban, who exalted him in his house, and gave him his daughters for wives, and he brought forth sons and daughters, and abundantly increased in wealth and riches in Laban's house through his means. And when he saw that his wealth was abundant and his riches great, he fled with all belonging to him from Laban's house, and he led Laban's daughters away from the face of their father as captives taken by the sword without telling him of it. And Yaakov has not only done so to Laban, but he has also done so, and has caught me by the heel twice. And shall I be silent? Now therefore I have this day come with my armies to meet him, and I will do to him according to the desire of my heart. And the messengers returned and came to Yaakov, and said to him, We came to your brother, to Ěsaw, and we told him all your words, and thus has he answered us, and see, he comes to meet you with 400 men. Now then, know and see what you shall do, and pray before Elohim to deliver you from him. And when he heard the words of his brother, which he had spoken to the messengers of Yaakov, Yaakov was greatly afraid, and he was distressed. And Yaakov prayed to Yahweh his Elohim, and he said, O Yahweh, Elohim of my fathers, Abraham and Yitzhak, you spoke to me when I went away from my father's house, saying, I am Yahweh, Elohim of your father Abraham, and the Elohim of Yitzhak. To you do I give this land and your seed after you, and I will make your seed as the stars of the Shamayim, and you shall spread forth to the 4 sides of the Shamayim, and in you and in your seed shall all the clans of the earth be Baruch. And you established your words, and gave to me riches and children and cattle, as the utmost wishes of my heart you gave to your servant. You gave to me all that I asked from you, so that I lacked nothing. And you afterwards said to me, Return to your genealogy and to your birthplace, and I will still do well with you. And now that I have come, and you delivered me from Laban, I shall fall into the hands of Ěsaw, who will slay me even together with the mothers of my children. Now therefore, O Yahweh Elohim, please deliver me from the hands of my brother Եսau, for I am greatly afraid of him. And if there is no righteousness in me, do it for the sake of Abraham and my father Yitzhak, for I know that through kindness and favor I have acquired this wealth. Now therefore I ask you to deliver me by your kindness and to answer me. And Yaakov ceased praying to Yahweh, and he divided the people that were with him with the flocks and cattle into 2 camps, and he gave the half into the hand of Damasek, son of Eleazar, Abraham's servant, for a camp with his children, and the other half he gave into the hand of his brother Eliainai, son of Eleazar, to be for a camp with his children. And he commanded them, saying, Keep yourselves at a distance with your camps, and do not come too near each other. And if Ěsaw comes to one camp and smites it, the other camp at a distance from it will escape him. And Yaakov stayed there that night, and during the whole night he gave his servants instructions concerning the camps and his children. And Yahweh heard the prayer of Yaakov on that day, and Yahweh then delivered Yaakov from the hands of his brother Ěsaw. And Yahweh sent 3 messengers of the messengers of the Shamayim, and they went before Ěsaw and came to him. And these messengers appeared to Ěsaw and his people as 2,000 men riding on horses equipped with all kinds of weapons. And they appeared in the sight of Ěsaw and all his men to be divided into 4 armies with 4 chiefs to them. And one army went on, and they found Ěsaw coming with 400 men toward his brother Yaakov. And the army ran toward Ěsaw and his people and frightened them. And Ěsaw fell off the horse in alarm, and all his men separated from him in that place, for they were greatly afraid. And the whole of the army shouted after them when they fled from Ěsaw, and all the men of battle answered, saying, Indeed, we are the servants of Yaakov, who is the servant of Elohim, and who then can stand against us? And Ěsaw said to them, Oh, then, my master and brother Yaakov is your master, whom I have not seen for these 20 years, and now that I have come this day to see him, do you treat me in this manner? And the messengers answered him, saying, As Yahweh lives, were not Yaakov, of whom you speak, your brother, we would not leave one remaining from you and your people, but only because of Yaakov will we do nothing to them. And the army passed from Ěsaw and his men and went away. And Ěsaw and his men had gone from them about a mile when the second army came toward him with all kinds of weapons. And they also did to Ěsaw and his men as the first army had done to them. And when they had left it to go on, see, the third army came toward him, and they were all afraid. And Ěsaw fell off the horse. And the whole army cried out and said, Indeed, we are the servants of Yaakov, who is the servant of Elohim, and who can stand against us? And Ěsaw again answered them, saying, Oh, then, Yaakov my master and your master is my brother, and for 20 years I have not seen his face. And hearing this day that he was coming, I went this day to meet him, and do you treat me in this manner? And they answered him and said to him, As Yahweh lives, were not Yaakov your brother, as you say, we would not leave a remnant from you and your men. But because of Yaakov, of whom you speak, is your brother, we will not strive with you or your men. And the third army also passed from them, and he still continued his way with his men toward Yaakov, when the fourth army came toward him, and they also did to he and his men as the others had done. And when Ěsaw saw the evil which the 4 messengers had done to he and to his men, he became greatly afraid of his brother Yaakov, and he went to meet him in peace. And Ěsaw concealed his hatred against Yaakov, because he was afraid for his life because of his brother Yaakov, and because he thought that the 4 armies that he had encountered were Yaakov's servants. And Yaakov stayed that night with his servants in their camps, and he resolved with his servants to give to Ěsaw a present from all that he had with him, and from all his property. And Yaakov rose up in the morning, he and his men, and they chose from among the cattle a present for Ěsaw. And this is the amount of the present which Yaakov chose from his flock to give to his brother Ěsaw. And he selected 240 head from the flocks, and he selected from the camels and donkeys 30 each, and of the herds he chose 50 cattle. And he put them all in 10 droves, and he placed each kind by itself, and he delivered them into the hands of 10 of his servants, each drove by itself. And he commanded them and said to them, "Keep yourselves at a distance from each other, and put a space between the droves. And when Єsaw and those who are with him shall meet you and ask you, saying, 'Whose are you, and where do you go, and to whom belongs all this before you?' you shall say to them, 'We are the servants of Yaakov, and we come to meet Єsaw in peace, and see, Yaakov comes behind us. And that which is before us is a present sent from Yaakov to his brother Єsaw.' And if they shall say to you, 'Why does he delay behind you from coming to meet his brother and to see his face?' then you shall say to them, 'Indeed, he comes joyfully behind us to meet his brother, for he said, I will appease him with the present that goes to him, and after this I will see his face. Maybe he will accept me.' So the whole present passed on in the hands of his servants, and went before him on that day. And he lodged that night with his camps by the border of the Wadi Yabok. And he rose up in the middle of the night, and he took his wives and his female servants and all belonging to him, and that night he passed them over the ford Yabok. And when he passed all belonging to him over the wadi, Yaakov was left by himself, and a man met him, and he wrestled with him that night until the breaking of day, and the hollow of Yaakov's thigh was out of joint through wrestling with him. And at the break of day the man left Yaakov there, and he beraked him and went away. And Yaakov passed the wadi at the break of day, and he limped on his thigh. And the sun rose upon him when he had passed the wadi, and he came up to the place of his cattle and children. And they went on till midday, and while they were going, the present passed on before them. And Yaakov lifted up his eyes and looked, and see, Єsaw was at a distance, coming along with many men, about 400, and Yaakov was greatly afraid of his brother. And Yaakov hastened and divided his children to his wives and his female servants, and his daughter Dinah he put in a chest, and gave her into the hands of his servants. And he passed before his children and wives to meet his brother, and he bowed down to the ground. He even bowed down 7 times until he approached his brother. And Elohim caused Yaakov to find favor and kindness in the sight of Єsaw and his men, for Elohim had heard the prayer of Yaakov. And the fear of Yaakov and his dread fell upon his brother Єsaw, for Єsaw was greatly afraid of Yaakov for what the messengers of Elohim had done to Єsaw, and Єsaw's wrath against Yaakov was turned into kindness. And when Єsaw saw Yaakov running toward him, he also ran toward him, and he embraced him, and he fell upon his neck, and they kissed, and they wept. And Elohim put fear and kindness toward Yaakov into the hearts of the men that came with Єsaw, and they also kissed Yaakov and embraced him. And Eliphaz, son of Єsaw, with his 4 brothers, sons of Єsaw, also wept with Yaakov, and they kissed him and embraced him, for the fear of Yaakov had fallen upon them all. And Єsaw lifted up his eyes and saw the women with their offspring, the children of Yaakov, walking behind Yaakov and bowing along the way to Єsaw. And Єsaw said to Yaakov, "Who are these with you, my brother? Are they your children or your servants?" And Yaakov answered Єsaw and said, "They are my children, which Elohim has graciously given to your servant." And while Yaakov was speaking to Єsaw and his men, Єsaw saw the whole camp, and he said to Yaakov, "Where did you get the whole of the company that I met last night?" And Yaakov said, "To find favor in the sight of my master, it is that which Elohim graciously gave to your servant." And the present came before Єsaw, and Yaakov pressed Єsaw, saying, "Please take the present that I have brought to my master." And Єsaw said, "Why is this my purpose? Keep that which you have for yourself." And Yaakov said, "It is necessary for me to give all this, since I have seen your face, that you still live in peace." And Єsaw refused to take the present, but Yaakov said to him, "I ask you, my master, if now I have found favor in your sight, then receive my present at my hand, for I have therefore seen your face as though I had seen a face like a mighty one, because you were pleased with me." And ʕsaw took the present, and Yaakov also gave to ʕsaw silver and gold and bdellium, for he pressed him so much that he took them. And ʕsaw divided the cattle that were in the camp, and he gave the half to the men who had come with him, for they had come on hire, and the other half he delivered into the hands of his children. And the silver and gold and bdellium he gave into the hands of Eliphaz his eldest son. And ʕsaw said to Yaakov, "Let us remain with you, and we will go slowly along with you until you come to my place with me, that we may dwell there together." And Yaakov answered his brother and said, "I would do as my master says to me, but my master knows that the children are weak, and the flocks and herds with their young who are with me go but slowly, for if they went swiftly they would all die, for you know their burdens and their fatigue. Therefore let my master pass on before his servant, and I will go on slowly for the sake of the children and the flock, until I come to my master's place at Seir." And ʕsaw said to Yaakov, "I will place with you some of the people that are with me to take care of you on the way, and to bear your load and burden." And he said, "What do you need, my master, that I may find favor in your sight? See, I will come to you to Seir to dwell there together as you have spoken. Go then with your people, for I will follow you." And Yaakov said this to ʕsaw in order to remove ʕsaw and his men from him, so that afterward Yaakov might go to his father's house to the land of Canaan. And ʕsaw listened to the voice of Yaakov, and ʕsaw returned with the 400 men that were with him on their way to Seir. And Yaakov and all belonging to him went that day as far as the boundary of the land of Canaan in its borders, and he remained there some time.